and then match yourself with someone who complements you. So she's in the medical field. I am not. She is the one who we rely on programming as far as, okay, well, how do we need to lay this out and whatnot? I have a history in nonprofit work and development, and so she relies on me to cover those areas. So when you're identifying who is a good peer support ally, maybe it's professionally, maybe it's personally, you want to identify and understand where you are weak so they can help you in that area, and understand where you're strong because it should be a mutually beneficial relationship, and how can you support that person as well so that you're both rising at the same time. Now when you're identifying a mentor, right, you want to be able to ask yourself, what is it that they have that you need to learn from them? Because the best part about mentorship is accelerated growth. Instead of something taking you 1 to 5 years, if you have a mentor, it might take 1 to 3, right? So being able to make those different decisions as far as, who do I have in peer support? How can I support them and they can support me? And who do I need to identify as a mentor? And how do I approach them in a way that is gonna be, because sometimes your mentor is doing it for free, right? So how do you make your mentor proud and do what you have set out to do in order for them to understand that their efforts aren't lost?
Aggressive. It was a dream of mine. I had no idea how it was gonna come to play. It was 2 years ago that I signed the business license. And I was in Peru studying abroad with a professor, and we were just sitting down at dinner, having a casual conversation, and I told her, but why haven't you ever gone to Uganda? She told me, write a proposal. She sent me the proposal. I got it to her 1 week earlier than she needed it. I had to be persistent. I had to show her that I was one notch above whatever she's ever seen before. And even when they got here, I gave them something better than what they got in Peru. And every student was satisfied with what they got. And it just takes a lot of time. It's demanding. I have my master's that I was working on. I have a child that I raise on my own. But you must do what you need to do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I've just been reminded something.
I take the honor to introduce our keynote speaker. That is Honorable Victoria Sechtoleto.
Pleasure to have you, our keynote speaker, and I will leave the floor to you and Didan.
Thank you very much. Ladies first. First of all, I really am excited to be here. Basically because, if I'm not mistaken, I'm the oldest. I'm happiest when I'm amongst young people. Whenever I have a function with young people, I get home feeling re-energized. So, thank you very much for having me. Now, I prepared a speech and prepared it, but on second thoughts, I'm like, who needs a speech? The reason I came in early, even if I was told I was going to speak at about 1 o'clock, is that I wanted to get the vibe. I wanted to get to know get to know you a little bit and what it is all about. And now that I know what it is all about, I'm glad I'm not sticking on to the speech. But having said that, I'm going to suggest that I just share a little bit of myself with you. Because some of these questions you are asking, some of the answers I have, I don't think anybody else will have them. That is one. 2, I want to comment on what was said earlier by the other panels as I was sitting. One of the things which I want to comment on specifically is about the 7-year-old abused girls. You know, whenever I think about that, I shake, even if it is just in my head. So this Christmas, I've got an assistant who is divorced and left her children somewhere else. So for Christmas, I'm like, you know what? Just bring your family. So she goes and brings them. One of them is a 6-year-old girl. She's the only girl she has. She's a mother of 3, 2 boys and 1 girl aged 6. I've got a gardener, a driver, and all sorts of assistants, most of whom are male. The rule in my house is that the children do not go into the workers' houses. So the only person who is working there, who has got a child, is this mom. Her name is Edsa. So I tell Edsa, those children don't go that side when you are not there. They can only go into your room, they don't go into other rooms. And she looks at me just wondering. The next thing I hear is this 6-year-old girl is calling my gardener, who is about 55, and who is actually a confessed HIV/AIDS positive person. I find this little girl in his room. I really, because you know you have those boundaries. I'm like, whenever I want to talk to the children, I talk to them through the mother because I don't want to undermine the mother. So I walk quickly to the house and I ask her, where is your daughter? She says, I don't know. I'm like, just go and find her right now. So she looks, then finds her in the gardener's house, room. And I tell her, you know what? I don't want to go violent. I don't want to lose my temper. I'll talk to you later on. To her, she just didn't know why I was so mad. So eventually, after I've calmed down, I'm like, you know what I'm talking about because you are not a young person. Why? I mean, she's only one kid. The house is big. Why can't she stay in the house? Or if you want, there's not a lot of work here because it's just me and my husband you are looking after. Why don't you go into the compound and play with your children? But because in Uganda we are not brought up like that, how many mothers in Uganda actually play with their children? So this wonderful lady just don't know how to, she just doesn't know how to do what I'm thinking about. So abused children, it takes only 5 minutes and it's done. That is how heavy the work of us women is. So the lady who is looking after the abused, I really want to thank you, because when I read the theme of this meeting and the quote which came from Malala, the one which says, I raise my voice not because I want to shout, but because I want those who are voiceless to be heard. That really resonated with me, and that sort of defines why I teach public speaking. In fact, most of the time when I teach public speaking, I do it for free, or I do it at a very, very tiny fee. Why? Because I would love for every woman to be able to speak up for herself. Didas was joking about being a coward, that when they go to see the boss, she dashes. You are not the only one, Didas. If I could do whatever it takes to get every woman in Uganda to speak up for herself, then I can retire happily. That is how worried I am about women in Uganda. They told you that currently I do urban farming, I do agri-talks and whatever. But the reason I do all that is that is where the women are. My key person is the woman or the girl child. So I want to thank all those who spoke before me, but who indicated they are doing something to lift other fellow women. As I said, I'm going to comment on what the panel said earlier. There was a question as to how do you define sexual assault, especially in the workplace? And where do you report? Indeed, where do you report? Because let me tell you what happened to me. You know, when you become a minister and you are about 37 years old, you are not exactly old. So you are working with this cabinet, which is all male. And then when you go abroad with His Excellency the President and you are meeting other presidents, they are all male. So here is Victoria marching into this corridor, and the president of the country is coming, and the first person he sees is me, and he says, oh, Victoria, my president is right there. So I'm just wondering what to do. So of course I proffer my hand to shake his hand. He just embraces me, and I'm like, he's not going to embrace his brother because the president, they just shook hands. Why was he embracing me? Now, when you have such a problem, sometimes you don't have anybody to share with. But at a convenient moment, I share with one of my brothers from Bushenyi. I'll tell you from Bushenyi so that you can relate to what I'm talking about. And he's like, you know, Victoria, if you have any problem, you let me know. And I'm like, you are right now, I've got a problem. And he's like, what is it? I'm like, I don't want you people embracing me. You don't embrace each other. Why do you always want to kiss me when I come to cabinet or something like that? Then he laughs and says, especially for us from West, you had better be careful. So, when we talk about sexual assault, I want to tell you that, let me go back to the president who embraced me and whatever. Now that ends, then we have a meeting in Rome, and my job, because I was the regional representative of FAO for Africa, at the airport receiving these presidents, and this wonderful president, who is not even my president, thinks I'm there because of him. So when you go to welcome these people, you're supposed to shake their hand and hand them over to the protocol. This guy, he's a president, he's just holding my hand and taking me along, and I'm like, what is happening here? So, of course, I didn't understand. But fast forward, like a year later, I'm talking to my fellow women, but actually from Africa. Then the women from that country tell me that he's not married. I'm sure he must have wondered how stupid you are. He was hitting on you. So sometimes it is difficult to say, I have been assaulted. But what happens when you are assaulted? When I was minister, somebody comes to me and says, the personnel officer of my ministry is actually harassing women. So, in government, the normal channel is to report to the PS. So I'm like, tomorrow, you take the note. Tomorrow I'm going to handle this. Since there was no specific case, tomorrow I'm going to handle this when I talk to the PS. Then in the evening, as I'm driving out of the station, because my office used to be in Entebbe, I see this woman crying. So I'm like, Houston, what is happening? Of course, she's ashamed, whatever. There's nothing. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stay here. If you don't tell me the police in Entebbe is not very far from the Ministry of Agriculture, I'm going to take you to the police. Because all mature women don't just cry. So eventually she tells me the PS was sexually harassing her. Here I am planning to report to the PS that the personnel officer is harassing the younger girls, and here is an officer crying because the PS. So I asked her what happened that he wanted to kiss me. Then we fought. And I ran out of the office. And I'm like, what is happening here? Then one other along those lines. Once again, we are brought with the president. But when you talk with the president, he does other things. He meets other people, and you, the cabinet, will stay there talking and whatever. Normally, it would be the cabinet, the governor, central bank, and all that. So, as we are talking, somebody brings this story, one of the worst stories I've ever heard, where they tell lies, because it is never told by a woman, it is always told by men, that there was this woman being raped, and she was fighting, but after some time when she realized that she can't win, she just gave up and started enjoying. I was so angry. I stood up, practically jumping on the table, and told these men never, ever repeat that story again. You want to rape each other, but for us women, we don't enjoy rape. So, these things happen at all levels. And this takes me back to why I want every woman to have her own voice. Because my assistant's daughter, the 6-year-old, needs to learn to say no. She has to learn the boundaries. Then, when it comes to my assistant, I also want her to know what to teach her child. And I want her to be able to say no. Just in case, for example, I'm down sending her to do some work in order to leave her children there, she should be able to say no. So, when I say I teach public speaking, that is what I'm after, in order for every woman to speak up for herself. But at the same time, of course, you will be, if you learn your public speaking, you definitely will be much better off. The most, I think I'll call it annoying thing about people who are very poor at public speaking is that they are the ones with the facts. It is normally the most intelligent, the most, those who you talk to and you are like, wow, she's so good, this should be shared. They are the ones who they just don't want to speak to the public. You tell them, oh, please talk about it, come and address us. They are no, Victoria, you do it. And you are like, but you are the one with the facts. So, ladies, I beg you, if and when you ever have a chance, At least take just 2 days and learn public speaking. It is not such a complicated thing, and you do not need a whole year. Of course, for us, when we do the course, it is a 6 weeks course. Because it is a doing thing, we give you a chance to practice. But please, 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 I don't care what you are doing now, whether you are a student, whether you are retired or whatever. If you have never taken that time to perfect your public speaking skills, please do it. And don't let anybody tell you that some people are born good public speakers. They just happen to grow up with people who are good at public speaking, who kept mentoring them. But most of us have actually learned on the job. Nice to see you, Maggie. Most of us have learned on the job. So, as I said, I was going to share a bit of myself instead of talking, but enough on other panels. Specifically about what I wanted to talk to you. This time of year, January, February, is the time when exams, PLE came back the other day. Senior 4 will soon be out, Senior 6 will be out, but as of now, it is graduation time. In fact, when I leave here, I'm going to a graduation lunch somewhere in Weyogerere. In Uganda, now, that is the talk. If you are on any chat groups, most of the chatting is about education, schools, exams, and if you are attending parties, they are graduation parties. Which makes one think about education. You know, when I was listening to the news on Thursday night, after they released the PLE results, 3,500 students' results have been withheld. The biggest number coming from Bundibujo. I doubt many of you have been to Bundibujo. I have been there. Bundibujo is close to Congo. Bundibujo has got only one road. If you want to go to Bundibujo, you have to go to Fort Portal. You take that one road and you go to Bundibujo. And if anything happens and let's say like one time a bus there was a bad accident, everybody had to wait either in Fort Portal or in Bundibujo. They grow cocoa, they grow a bit of coffee, and they do a bit of cattle keeping. They are neighbors to Congo. The most difficult neighbor we have is actually their neighbor. Now, it is those children whose results have been withheld. They showed us some of the schools. Really, the schools look so pathetic. I've got a sister-in-law who keeps saying just one sentence whenever they show such, and we are all Ugandans. Honestly, we who are here, we are lucky that we don't come from those districts. Unfortunately, there are many like that. Because 3,500 students is a big number. Behind each of those, there is a family. Behind each of those, there is a district. What is going to happen to this country when some of our sisters are honestly illiterate? Because when they explain what happened in Bundibujo, that Bundibujo discovered that they are not passing because they are not cheating. Somebody told them how to cheat. So they went to the parents, said, bring 50,000. We shall write the result, the answers on the board for your child to copy. Unfortunately, as they were copying, I think some of the supervisors were not part of the eating, so they reported them, and now that is where we are. Okay, that is what happened in Bundibujo, but that is supposed to be the last district. What happened there? Has any of you ever been to Karamoja? In my view, Karamoja is one of the most beautiful parts of Uganda. Honestly. And, you know, when you meet a Karamojong, because at the time when we were in high school, our school, Gayaza High School, had a policy of bringing at least one child from every district. So in our school, we had them Karamojong girls. The Karamojongs are so beautiful. And of course, they are so, and of course, they are so beauty conscious. I'm glad I don't know your name, so you just laugh at yourself. When I was in the bathroom, two young ladies walked in, and one of them had red hair. And the other was saying, oh, I love your hair. I looked and in my mind, I'm like, yeah, it looks a bit Karamojong. Because for the longest time, the Karamojong have always used that earth in order to make themselves whatever and this and the other. Now, given that local wisdom, can you even try to imagine what would happen if they were given some of this education we are having in addition to what they have? So, Why am I going on and on about education? I've said this because I've said it before and I believe it. Somebody wrote, this was a sign on one university in South Africa, that if you want to kill a country, you do not need a bomb, you do not need guns. All you need is infect, destroy their education. Especially encourage cheating. That way, the children will just go through the system without studying. Eventually, we shall have doctors, because if the cheating is allowed, you cheat in PLE, you cheat in senior 4, senior 6, university. So you become a doctor who has cheated in order to become a doctor. People will start dying in the theaters because of the cheating. The judges, the lawyers, the police, everything will just go haywire. Now, that is where we are headed if we don't do something about our education. Of course, whenever I talk, I'm not the president, I'm just Victoria, and my area is agriculture. So when I talk about the mal-education of Uganda, I conclude that part by talking about agriculture education. For those of you who went to school here, you were told that agriculture is the backbone of Uganda. Not so? And everybody would tell you agriculture is the backbone, even when I was young. Because when I was young, as I told you, I was a farmer's daughter. I would wake up and do all those things which farmers' daughters do, and so on and so forth. In the process, I swore to myself that if I cannot find a man who is not a farmer's son, I'm not going to get married. There was no way I was going to grow up and become a farmer's wife. No way. Life was too tough. So, lo and behold, I'm working in the bank. I told you I was there for 13 years. I used to be in the same building, the new building. When IPS was new, it looked very beautiful. And one day, as I'm approaching, the lift is about to close to leave me and I was already late. Somebody presses the button. I get in there and I take a look and I'm like, not bad. So when we start talking, I discover that his father is a shopkeeper. And he works with the central bank. What more was I looking for? So I married Mr. Sectorico, and he supported me to do all those things which you have heard. But 40 years later, we retired. And as you heard, I'm an urban farmer, and I'm actually a farmer's wife. So, about Uganda. Agriculture is the backbone of our country. But we are busy flirting with this one. When we see oil, we are like, whoa, to get them oil. Then infrastructure. Then this one. Can we concentrate on this God-given gift of agriculture and feed the whole world if need be? How do we do it? When prioritizing, setting up our curriculum and whatever, can we prioritize agriculture, education, and nutrition? You know, these things are in the syllabus. They are in the curriculum. But when it comes to examination time, out of 40 questions in science, you are lucky to get 4 from agriculture. That is the backbone. I've got a granddaughter who has just done her P7. So I asked her, what do you study when you study history? And she said, we study things like colonialism. Like what? Colonialism. And I'm like, what do you study like in South Africa? And I'm like, what? And of course, you also study about who discovered the source of the Nile. So of course, she quickly recites who discovered it. I had even forgotten that Speak had a second name. So, but looking at her, which is 13, in Uganda, children start dropping out of school at the age of like 7. P2, P3, P7. Now, if my granddaughter Margaret dropped out of school now, what has South Africa colonialism got to do with her? Whereas if you taught her agriculture and taught her nutrition, she would be able to know maybe how to mulch, how to irrigate, how to plant. Even the government, when talking to her as a farmer, it would be easier to relate because she would know what they are talking about. But we waste so much time. Oh no. Then if and when she gets a child, because these days these children are becoming pregnant very early, if and when she becomes pregnant, she should be able to know that when a child is not fed properly and starts swelling, the stomach starts swelling, that is kwashako and she's not being bewitched. So, in my view, if we could advocate for our education system to emphasize those areas which are important to us, then you and I can sleep easy. For those of you who don't stay here, let me tell you what the talk is in town. Currently, the rich people, those who have made it, are spending sleepless nights. Reason, the poor people are not sleeping because they are hungry. So the rich cannot sleep because he thinks the poor person is coming to steal. The poor cannot sleep because he's hungry. What a life. So, so if you want to live happily, let us, you and I, see how we get hold of those hands which are looking for help, and we lift them. Because eventually, it will catch up with us. As I said, I was going to share my life with you. The one thing, now I want to be in the present. You don't come from those bad districts. You didn't go to the schools whose results were nullified and whatever. You went to school, you were immunized, you went to school, you have got a job, and so on and so forth. So now that we are here and you are at that stage, one of the comments which was made earlier is that when you are a woman boss, you always have to justify yourself. It depends what boss you are. What do I mean? Honestly, things have changed a lot. This I can tell you because most of you are young, so you were not there. But for me, when I was minister, I was so powerful. I said it and it happened. I'll tell you two things which happened. You know, some things in Uganda are taken for granted, chief among which is when the top person steals money from a system. So I had this PS who was actually a thief. And one of the drivers came to me with a bundle of receipts and deliveries and whatever, a file full. There were about 100 of them. And he told me that your PS is a thief. He was told, he was given money to build this house. He did not build it. I'm the one who used to ferry the materials bought by the ministry and taken to his building site, which is in somewhere in this place. I can take you there. I feel like a Ugandan that I've got to do something about this because he was a Muslim. Otherwise, I'm wasting time as a Haji when I've been ferrying stolen things. So I took this file, photocopied it, got 2 copies, kept the original in the safe at the ministry, took the first copy somewhere else. Yes, and I gave him this file, and I told him, you were supposed to build a house here for the government, you didn't build it. You took all these materials, you delivered them to your building site at such and such a place. When you leave here, go to your office, take your coat, and get out of here, and never come back. So, he went with the file, and as soon as he left, I stood up, my office was in it, as I said, and got to my car, went to State House, delivered this file, and I told Amelia, was the person asked the president, make sure the president sees that file today. I went back to my office. Now, 3 days later, the president calls, sorry. In the afternoon, after that file had been seen, I called the president, and I told him, I have fired my PS. He said, you have done what? I have fired my PS. Then he asked the only question that shocked him, and who's your PS? I will not tell you, because it's a bit sensitive. But anyway, I think I'll tell you, otherwise it won't make sense. He was from the West. So, the president says, okay, I see. But he looks at the file, calls the PS, and of course it is true, the man had stolen the money. And the president never brought him back. Until today, that man has never stepped in any ministry. But that was then. These days, things are slightly different, I don't know. But this one I know, and everybody knows. If you tell anybody that I fired two, but the most dramatic one is that one. Because the first one had issues working with a woman boss. So I told him, as we stand now, you don't have a choice. You either work with me or you find another job. He chose to find another job. I didn't fire him. He didn't come back, so I got another one. So, if you are a woman, whether you are a woman or you are a man, first and foremost, you have got a job to do. The one difficult thing, if you are going to behave the way I used to behave, is that you are really treading a very, very thin line. So, I want to tell everybody who is aspiring to become a boss, being boss is fantastic. It is difficult, but if you do it fairly and do it right, you'll be surprised how far you can go. And along those lines, if you want to be able to tread this fine line, the first thing you should sort out is have some money of your own. Because if you are going to be a tough boss, it is going to be difficult for you to go to this junior and ask him to lend you some money. And then you think, so, what did I do in order to make money when I was a minister? As I told you, I was a banker before. Now, upon becoming minister, I honestly ended up getting half the salary I was getting as a banker. But I had been boiling to become a politician, so I was happy. Even if they were not paying me, I was going to do that job. So, what did I do? I went to the bank, took all my savings out, and went and bought a cow. This is a true story. I used to stay along Sheraton Road. If any of you is in Adam and you know where they do what is his name? The guy who does the elections for NRM. Or is it Odo? Is it Odo? That one. So that house, which is just after Ariranga, that's where I used to stay. It has a very big compound. So I went, bought a cow, and put it there. Then I went to my neighbors. Richard Kajuka was my neighbor. There's a house for Barclays Bank, and there was a judge. So I went and knocked. I was 37. I'm like, I've got a cow, and you like fresh milk. Can I sell you fresh milk? They all laughed and said, why not? So every morning, 15 liters of milk was delivered in the neighborhood, and it was cash. So when other people were saying how ministers were corrupt, for me, I was selling milk to my neighbors and feeding my family. I did not have to be corrupt, because it is so difficult to be corrupt when you are a minister in a ministry. I'll tell you why. They don't bring sacks of money in the ministry. And government has rules. Everything has to be requisitioned for. So as a minister, how do you requisition for this money quietly? There is no way. You have to go through the PS, so you can't fire your PS for being corrupt if he has already given you money. This money has to be gotten from the bank. Well, there's somebody they call the executive officer, whatever that means, I don't know, but somehow he's the one who normally does the final whatever. So the PS, the other secretary, the executive officer, the cashier, everybody will know that the minister has stolen money. Which is why I don't understand why Ugandans keep quiet, because there is no way you can take minister money without all those people knowing. So, back to you ladies. If you love your country and you want to be patriotic, just do yourself one favor. If you see such a thing, speak up. How do you speak up? In my view, if you know, there are quite a few ministers who are not corrupt. Go and tell them. Now we have got IGG. Tell the IGG. It can be a bit difficult to tell the police, because I remember when I was minister for just under 10 years. So I went through 5 PSs. I told you I fired 2. One was transferred. The last one went to jail. The PS and the other secretary went to jail. So by the time I left, they were in jail. Unfortunately, they have both passed away. But when and if you want to be movers, makers, and shakers, you can't be both. Either you are a leader or you are going to be led. And if you are a leader, you want to be a mover, a shaker, or whatever, you had better be ready to be sometimes alone. It may look like you are alone, but eventually you will not be alone for a long time. You know, I've got grandchildren, as I've told you. I don't know what I would be doing if my grandchildren were hearing whispers of what I stole from the ministry and that I was fired from here and that, because, you know, one of the speakers talked about choices. Make your choice. Nobody is going to turn you into a mover, a shaker, or whatever. You are saying you are afraid when you get to the boss, you start going backwards. Please stop doing what is his name? Honorable, the Minister for Finance. Stop going backwards, right, and learn to go forward. And now let me tell you what it is when you are seated on this side of the room and somebody comes in. In quite a number of cases, some of the bosses are also afraid. That is what you people don't know, especially if they are men. Men are cowards. That is why they have those big voices. So don't fear them. Don't fear them. If you need company, that is okay. You can always ask somebody to come with you. But when you get there, you tell the boss what you want. Like when somebody is asked, how much are you expecting to be paid? Please speak up. That is a standard question these days. Why can't you answer? The men answer. I remember one time last year we were interviewing somebody who had just been fired from another organization where, by God's grace, I was a board member, and I knew he was fired because of alcohol. Now he applies for this job. This job is in marketing. Those people who put PR and whatever, fundraising and all that. And when you talk to him, he is so convincing. So when we asked him, because we had to go through the whole exercise, signified there was no way we were going to hire him. How much do you expect to get? He actually asked for 20 million. From the other organization, he was getting about 7. Now this one, because the boss was a woman and it is an international organization and whatever, he wanted 20 million. Because if you want me to fundraise, then I have got to look like I have money. So, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. But women, let us also learn to be adventurous. In most cases, you will not get the job anyway. So for the fun of it, tell these people you are 20 million. And if you keep saying it and saying it, eventually it may come to happen. So that is if you are looking for a job. But if you are setting up your own business, was it Madam Mbabazi, the one who was seated here, and she said she has tried her businesses and she hinted that she has not gone very far. Never give up. And the son of the shopkeeper who I told you about went to college school, where they say, be known by works. So don't give up, continue working. And when you come here, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you stand on this podium, 50% of your job is to market yourself. But I've been seated here for quite some time. The only name I can remember is Mbabazi, maybe because, where is she anyway? I liked the dress she's wearing, and I liked, but most of, I had to ask what your name was, and the lady seated next to me went and asked somebody else, who'd ask somebody else, and then eventually they told us, whenever you have a chance, please market yourself. That is 1. 2, market your product. Some of you have got fantastic products, but you don't talk about them. Because like Tamale, being sectorial, of course, I was very excited when I heard about Tamale. Those 2 girls, the Jacetas, they are such successful girls, but they had not blown their trumpet until she asked them. So the men do it. You also do it. And some of us are at that time of our age where we are asked, do you know anybody who can do this? Do you know anybody who can do that? Really make my work easy. Let me know who you are, what you do, where you are. Finally, I want to talk about having one's back. I'm glad I'm going to say this when Maggie is here. Quite often, both Maggie and I bite off more than we can chew. But I love it when I call Maggie and I'm like, Maggie, I need another bailout. She's like, what is it this time, Victoria? I'm like, you see, I accepted to go and do this. But then this one has come up and it is more connected to me. Can you please, even if you go there for 30 minutes, that will work for me. And she has always been there for me. Thank you, Maggie. But I'm not, because I can always thank her anywhere, anytime, whatever. All I'm saying is, whatever you do, get yourself a friend who is like that. Somebody you can call, and maybe there are only 6 hours left. And she's like, because of Victoria, I'll definitely go. And of course, she does not call me back to say, Victoria, are you giving me fuel? Because so, but the issue about friends, be ready to invest. I'm there for her, she's there for me. And we are normal. We have patience, we fall sick, we do whatever. I don't normally delve into that. If, let's say, she asks me to do something and I can do it, I just go ahead and do it to the best of my knowledge. Because for me, I call her my sunshine. So get yourself some sunshine person into your life. So, that then takes me back to Didas, who was saying how she's a coward and whatever. You honestly look so confident. God and your parents did all the work. The remaining part is just for you to stand up for yourself. Of course, for me, I'm not a Muganda, so I cannot think of another word other than mwebererewo, mwebereremo. You really have to stand up for yourself.
A round of applause to our Honorable Sechitoleko. And as I've been told, you need to take charge of the situation. My name is Miss Didan Moyira, a radio presenter, Radio City 97 FM, 3 to 7 p.m. Please listen in. I am really good. I know it. Now we're getting into another part. She actually brought it up. And we're talking, I tell her, right? Oh, now you've gone quiet. Don't go quiet. So we're going to get into another part of this little forum, entrepreneurship. Many of us want to start a business, have an idea of a business, but again, we lack that confidence, or we're scared, or we have so many excuses. I don't know, and I know one of my excuses is, hey, but do I have money for that one? And then we tend to see people who've already made it. We do not know the struggle that they went through maybe 10 years ago, but we're seeing them now. And you want your small idea to be like that person's, yet you do not know what struggle they went through to get to where they went. Your time? Coming up on this stage is a very young, intelligent lady, very well spoken. These are those ones who speak, with profound English. Are there words like that? The ones who drop big words like vicarious, and you have to Google or use dictionary to understand what she's saying. This is one of these people I've seen growing up, very intelligent, that even your parents would ask you, but if that is your friend, why can't you be clever like this one? You know those friends, But she's matured up and she's grown up and she's doing so much work and giving back to the society in such a beautiful way. She was here with us last year. Please help me welcome Michelle Omamtakao, founder of Malengo Foundation.
Good afternoon, ladies and a few gentlemen. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Miss Uganda North America, for having me here to speak about passion. Now, I'm very honored to be here to speak about passion because passion is a subject that's very human and very universal. Regardless of your field, your craft, passion is something that we think about, we debate about. We're constantly in search for it. We're on this journey to find our higher self, regardless of who you are or what you do. So, while this may be an entrepreneurship summit, and I'm guessing I should speak more passion related regarding business, I request that I speak about it generically because not everybody in the room is a business person. First and foremost, I think to myself, what is passion? Actually, when I was invited to speak, I thought, what is passion? Most people would think about passion in the sense of emotions, feelings, something that pushes you, kind of like when you have a boyfriend, or you know that feeling, that excitement you feel about life, about your job, about your work. But I couldn't disagree more. I think that passion usually is surrounded by excitement, surrounded by fear, surrounded by very, very high tense emotions. But that is not what defines passion. I think passion is defined by you persevering to do whatever it is you want to do, or you feel that you are set out to do in this world, in the absence of that feeling. That's what I think passion is. So some of us were born with talent. One of my good friends here, Susan, from Paparine, I was just saying to her that if I was a designer or an artist or a musician, I wouldn't talk to anyone, because I'd be one of those designers with my nose in the sky. And I was saying to her that when I see Karl Lagerfeld at Paris Fashion Week, I get it. Because you were born, you were lucky from when you were a child. God really gave you this tunnel vision, this idea of, this is what I want to be. Possibly you were removing buttons and putting them on your mother's skirts and all these things. So from a young age, you sort of knew what you wanted to do. So I think that for that, you're very passion-driven in the sense that God gave you and God blessed you to know at the end of the tunnel, this is where I'm going to be. But the reality is, the majority of us, myself included, were not born with this tunnel vision. We're not born with this vision. I didn't know that I was going to start an organization that supports persons with disabilities, because that's what I do. I'm the founder of Malengo Foundation, and we work, I'm also an advocate for the Sustainable Development Goals, specifically Goal 10 for reducing inequalities. And as an organization, we host East Africa's largest inclusive fashion show, inclusive charity fashion show, that has persons with disabilities participating at every level of the event. Among other things, we also support children with disabilities in the community with medical facilitations. We support children with disabilities with school fees. My point being that it is not what I thought I was going to do. I'm actually really good with numbers, really good with numbers. And when I was little, I used to see them in the sky, and I saw myself on, Wall Street, and I saw myself crunching numbers for the rest of my life. But where am I? Most of the time, in the community, with children with disabilities. We have lost many children, whom I don't, of course, speak about on my social media. You find yourself in a hospital, cleaning a child's head, looking for money for, crutches, looking for money to send a child to Mbale for hydrocephalus, operations. So you find yourself most of the time stressed. You find yourself most of the time depressed. You find yourself most of the time scared, but you wouldn't be anywhere else. That is passion. Passion is not glamorous. It's not sexy. It's not Instagram, social media, 10,000 likes. Passion is what happens behind the scenes. Passion is what you feel in the absence of everything that comes secondary. When you think about any woman leader, business leader, trendsetter, you think about Serena Williams, for example. She's very passionate about tennis. But what signifies that she's passionate about tennis is not when she's carrying the trophy after she wins Wimbledon or, US Open. It's the fact that after carrying the trophy, she has to go and do press. Sometimes in the Australian Open, games end like at 2 a.m., 1 a.m. And then she has to go and do press. After press, she has to go for recovery and therapy. After recovery and therapy, she probably has to go and speak to her nutritionist. She'll possibly go to bed at 4 a.m. and then wake up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning to go and do warm-up before meeting, Maria Sharapova, or who else she has to play. But you don't see that. What you see is Serena Williams on Instagram getting 2 million likes. What you see is Serena Williams on a red carpet, and then you think to yourself, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that feeling. When I see Beyonce on the red carpet, I want to be a musician because I can sing. And every time I see Beyonce sing, I get excited. I feel something in my body. This is why I am passionate about singing. No. You were passionate about being a singer because it took Beyonce possibly 10 years broke. It took her getting no's. It took her moving, bouncing from place to place. It took her crying. It took people who now, double like, retweet, saying to her possibly a couple of years ago, you're going to be nothing. But irrespective, she still woke up and said, I want to sing. So as an entrepreneur, it is no different. If whatever it is that you want to do is something that you can do in the absence of comfort, in the absence of certainty, in the presence of depression, in the presence of fear, then you are passionate about it. But if it's something you're good at, or it is something that you feel a feeling, it's like having malaria. We get fever, but they don't treat fever, they treat malaria. You understand? You're not sick of fever. You have a fever because you're sick of something else. Then you go to hospital and they tell you have a bacterial infection or you have malaria or whatnot, right? You don't just keep taking painkillers to bring the fever down. You have to take the malaria medicine. You must go through that nasty taste in your mouth. You must go through the lack of appetite. You must go through it all because you're looking at the end of the day, when I'm well, and I can do whatever I want to do. It is the same thing with passion. Also, something that I wanted to say before I wind up my speech is that do not get boxed into the ideology that passion, you must be passionate about one single thing. You're going to spend your whole entire life looking for this one single thing, your purpose. What am I passionate about? Everybody's finding their passion. Oh my God, this person left their job and they opened up their business and now they are running, their fashion line, or they are running their, restaurant. They were a corporate ladder at the top of and they left all of it to start their small business. And now it's an overnight success. Oh my God, I must find my passion. I'm an advocate, but I'm also a writer. I'm an author. I wrote Africa's first inclusive children's storybook. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I work with my parents at our family business. My parents own Entebbe Junior School in Entebbe, and I run the Cambridge section of the school. I'm an administrator. I'm a friend. I'm a sister. And I'm passionate about all those things because I do not see myself in any singularities. I'm not one person, so I do not have to be passionate about one thing. Wherever you are in your life, my point is, if you're passionate about whatever you're doing, even if you haven't yet reached, that step, wherever you think is your nirvana, wherever you think is the peak of your Mount Sinai, be passionate about it. Suffer for it, be prepared. Be prepared. Study. Learn. Learn your craft. I fight for disability rights. I did finance in my schooling, but I sleep at like 2 a.m. reading policies on human rights. I don't like reading policies on human rights. Otherwise, I would have done law. But I'm passionate about equality, so I have to do it. Right? So you have to not see yourself as one single person, and you have to be prepared in whatever endeavor that you decide to take upon yourself. You have to be prepared for it. And most importantly, passion is owning a business that sells sugar and drinking tea without sugar. You understand? You have to be frugal. If you're passionate, you must be frugal. You have to be frugal with your resource. You have to be frugal with your time. You have to be frugal with your mental space. You cannot be, I don't know what people think passion is these days. You sell sugar, but you don't put it in your tea. You think about everything in cost and profit. Whether it's passionate about your children, whether it's passionate about your business, the ethos, the theory remains the same. And ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, be kind. Your passion will be fueled if you're nice. I've gotten so many doors opened for me simply because I'm nice to people. A lot of people, I started Malengo Foundation 3 years ago. Yes, 2015, October. 2015, October. Right after the inception of the Sustainable Development Goals in September 2015. That's why I remember. Because when I heard about the SDGs, I said, I'm going to start an organization that's going to propagate the SDGs to young people. And somehow I saw myself on a platform at the United Nations when, Michelle Mamtekera, and my lights are top, my name is in top billing. But ladies and gentlemen, for the past 3 years, I've moved from, community to community. I've been in shacks. I've met people who live in card boxes, literally. I've seen ailing children. I've seen strong people. And really, when I see that mother doing everything she can do in her power to make sure that her child lives another day, I cannot describe passion more eloquently than that. Passion is pain. It is pain, but it is pain that at the end of the day, you will pick. Passion is sometimes to plateau. It is not to feel, it's just like marriage. I don't think you feel the same for your husband. I'm not married, hey, I don't know. But I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think every day you look at your husband, you're like, ooh. No, that's not what passion is. I think that passion should be present when you peak. It should be present when you plateau, because it is something that you forge ahead towards. So ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if I have empowered you in any way. I don't know if, I have been able to make you want to make the next big step, open your business. But one thing that I say that I'm going to be regardless is honest and truthful. My truth. There is no one size fits all. We're all here on this journey trying to figure things out. But as long as you're prepared, you focus on a life of purpose. You focus on a life that is to solve a situation. It doesn't necessarily mean solve a problem. It could be even to solve a social situation. You focus on a life that is encumbered by developing conversations that make this world a better place. Passion will follow you. Thank you so much for listening to me.
So much. No, you can. Next on our topic, we're going to be discussing entrepreneurship confidence amongst women. Entrepreneurship.
BZB.
Now, we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship confidence amongst women, especially, since now a majority of you are into entrepreneurship or business, if I may say. Definitely, I'm in the business of Didan, thanks to what Mr. Ariho told me some years back. But talking about confidence, people say believe in yourself, and then people say have confidence. Are those two different? Are they the one and the same thing? I'll begin with you, Mr. Ariho, the author of Living Your Brand. Live Your Brand. Very interesting book, by the way.
Great. Thank you, Didan. I'm very honored to be here. All protocol observed, I'm seeing some very distinguished people in the audience. I am extremely honored to be here. I hope I'm audible. I'll start by selling myself. My name is Ariho Kamara. I am co-founder and CEO of an advertising firm here in Uganda and also with offices in Rwanda. We're called Nomad. And I am also a blogger. I am an author. I am a husband. And I need to introduce the first lady at this LadiesFirst event. I came with the first lady. That's my wife, Vasta.
You've done a very good thing there. Otherwise, tonight.
She's also an author and a mother, and yeah, we've just been really loving the conversation happening, and I've learned a lot. Before I even delve into the confidence and believing in yourself, I believe that what you read, if someone can control what you read, then they can control how you think and ultimately how you behave. And that's why I have taken it upon myself to begin to put out African literature for people to read things in our context so that it can infuse on how they view themselves and ultimately how they behave. I mean, we've been fed a narrative that doesn't take into consideration the context of our lives. So many things we do and we don't know why we're doing them, but we're just doing them because we read about them in a book that was written to someone who was experiencing the 4 seasons, yet we only have 2 here. So I think confidence to a great extent is you knowing who you are and being comfortable with who you are and not being afraid of letting that person be seen. So most times people who are very confident are people who know what's going for them, and sometimes they come off as braggadocious or showy or stuff like that, but it's just they know their brand and they know what they represent and they can confidently say what it is that they're about, which means that they're also aware of what they cannot do. So, yeah.
To stand up and my boss likes to say I'm number 3 in the bank. Yes, and I'm a lady. It is very true. It is very
She's
true.
not being braggadocious. She's just being factual about the situation. I've learned a new word, braggadocious. Aye, Bambi.
It's very true that women are not as confident as entrepreneurs when it comes to starting businesses. I believe most women want to start the smaller businesses, and it has a mix to do with both the individual and society, and maybe a myth about banks. I will start with the myth that banks, to give you security, to give you a loan or financing, you need security. And
But don't we need security?
I'm coming to that. And most women do not have the security, they don't have land titles. And that is what really is, they see as a disadvantage. But I think what we need to do as banks is give people information. Information is power. There are quite a number of ways that women can get financing, even if it is small and if it is big. I will speak for my employer, Equity Bank, because we have very many innovative products, and these can help women get financing. Number one, how many of us are employed and have a salary? Yes? That is security, number one. We all have security, that is our salary. You can use that to get financing. Number two, we have products where we do not need land titles. We have microloans where you can use your business, where you can use your stock, your TV, your couch to get financing. But how many ladies or people know about that information? And number three is, in light with innovative products, most of us, Equity Bank is well known for Equiduka. How many know Equiduka? Agency banking. That is our platform for shared prosperity, where you become an agent of a bank and I pay you commission. I have people who I'm paying up to 2 million shillings every month for commission, but that is shared prosperity, and that is another way to get financing. So yes, Didan, the women do not have this information that they can get financing. And interestingly, women are the best savers. We have less women defaulters. And I think, speaking from my mother is a teacher, and she says she's never earned my salary, but she is the best saver I know, and all women, I think, are very good at saving. So, yes.
How have you managed to maintain that confidence, especially the seasons when things are not that good? How have you managed to sustain that confidence to keep you creative, to keep you motivated, to make sure Beryl Couture continues moving on forward?
Thank you so much, Titan. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. One, in trying to, maintain my confidence in this, first and foremost, I had the confidence from right, when I started it. And one of the things that I also know affects so many people is that you're willing to listen to someone else's opinion. You're willing to say, no, okay, please forgive me, mummies, but you're willing to say, mommy says, no, I can't do that. It means that it's a really big no. You can't really even think about it. But you see, once you know who you are, you believe really in what you're doing, and you're looking at it. One, it doesn't hurt anyone. Two, it's not really offending anybody. Three, if God came down there, he wouldn't really kill you because, you did this. Then you start to wonder what is really wrong with it. And why is the other person saying, no, you can't do this, no, you can't. Yes, they didn't want it, but also I really forgive them because they had no idea what it was. But I took it upon myself to know exactly what it was and try to find a way to wrap it in a beautiful box that would also be very attractive to them, and they would, at the end of the day, look at it and believe in it. So yes, I'm so proud because at the end of the day, they see it, they love it, and they're willing to send even more people to, to actually get into the fashion business as well. So number one is you have to really think about something yourself. You have to believe in yourself alone, without anybody. You have to shut down and out everything and just stand. Because even when you're starting your own business, honestly speaking, that's how it is. There is the fear of, yes, I know I can do it, but how do I do it? Then when you start thinking about how you're going to do it, you feel like, no, I think, let me just let it go. Because then suddenly there's money needed, then suddenly there's a lot of things that now you need. Then oops, no, I think let me just let that go. But then again, if everybody says that, if everybody does that, then how are we even going to live? What would even ever come up? So we'll all stay in the same place where we don't believe in anything. We're only waiting for one human being to say, no, do this, and do this. And we will never win in life. So how I maintain this is that I already believed in it right from the beginning. I was confident enough to say, you know what? It doesn't even matter how I start, but I was looking at how big it would get, and I forgot how small it was at the moment. So I kept working. And even today, even when things go really south, and it's, maybe there'll be so many challenges. One of the things that I have learned to do is to, don't even judge me, but it's to pray. I just know that somehow, I don't even know how that works, but somehow you get to move to the next level. You get like hope and the confidence to say, yeah, you know what? It's okay. It shall be fine. Yes. Then you move on. In you persevering through that, which you have covered with prayer and believing that somebody else is supposed to take over, you feel like, yeah, then you kind of take on the next thing. And before you know it, things are flowing and you're back, like you're back to your...
It's so funny you say that, because I've had a lot of the speakers coming up here and saying, you take a step back and tell yourself, it's going to be okay. No, Didan is panicking. I am rolling on the ground. It's not going to be okay for me at that moment. So let me direct it to you, because you've also been in the business for quite a while, Susan. How do you get yourself to that point where almost every female speaker has been saying, you take yourself back and then tell yourself it's going to be okay? Me, I'm thinking the yaka is on 0.01. It's not going to be okay. Water has been cut. It's not going to be okay. I have to go to work. I have 1 towel. It's not going to be okay. So how do you pull yourself away from that whole scary moment and then bring yourself back to continue running this business?
Good evening or good afternoon, everybody. As you know, my name is Suzanne Tusime. I own a men's fashion brand, which is Purple Rain. Dan's question makes me think about what my dad says all the time. Sometimes when he's broke, this is someone who's worked in the UN for a very long time, but there are times and life happens, things come up, there's a lot to be paid, people need school fees, he takes care of his relatives, and he goes broke. He always says, you have to live today in order to survive tomorrow. There is a point you reach, and you do literally have to live day by day. You have to live today in order to survive tomorrow. I would also say not to just dramatize or fantasize about some of the principles that are needed to, to move on or to be able to put a halt on what it is you can do and what you can't handle. I would say saving as well. Sometimes things come up and you blow through savings, or the investment you thought about was going to be this much ends up being more than what you thought it was going to cost. But I would say saving, if you can't save when you earn 50,000 shillings a month, if you can't save from the little that you have, you pretty much also won't be able to handle big amounts of money. So saving is one of the things I particularly would like to do practice, whether I have a lot of money coming in or little amounts of money coming in. I would also say, I agree with Anita when she says prayer. Oh my God. There are just some things people assume that you have to have everything under control if you're an entrepreneur. You must know what you're doing. Sometimes when people ask for proposals, it's well written down. There's always the mathematical part, there's the theoretical part that you've drafted up of how the business is going to go, the amounts of money you're expecting to come in, how you're going to allocate these resources and things like that. But every entrepreneur I know will say one thing: things can slap you in the face from nowhere, and not everything is planned, not everything works according to plan. Things can easily just go out of control. I do believe having some firm roots in a higher power than you, and knowing that there is a reason at the end of the day. You are the person who took on this, and you brought it from where other people didn't, and you reached here. You do have the divine responsibility to yourself for even you just being in that position to be able to move and take this to a whole other level. You just have to also trust yourself that if you can't handle this, you can handle A, you can handle B, you can handle C. If you're broke, you can't handle the bill that day, there's a friend. There are friends that you can make who would probably help you out. They say it takes a village. Businesses and entrepreneurship is kind of literally runs around the same principle. It takes a village. You can't do everything and anything by yourself. Sometimes it's good to also build relationships. That's what I would call social capital. Not everything is just about money, money, money. I don't have money to pay the bill. At that point, I think you can use a candle also. Candle is like 200 shillings. Use a candle. Water, go shower at your friend's place. People have lived out of their cars, and yet they've walked into their buildings they owned, and they sit in these leather fancy chairs. And he goes, is brushing his teeth in his car.
So once we have all of that, sometimes I look like at you, Beryl, and even you, Timothy. I look at you guys, and I've seen a lot of you deal in men's suits. That is really bold. You know, because you'd expect a man to deal in men's suits, not a lady dealing in men's suits. You also deal in fashion, and you wear a lot of your products. But now my question is, I don't know if you will flow with me on this one. What if that is not my business? Me, I have April blooms, the bouquets we have here. How does this person leave their brand? That is my, like, how is it when I walk in here, you will see the April blooms on me, like without me even talking? How do we get there?
Okay, let me sell a book. This is my first book. It's called Live Your Brand. Quit trying to blend in. You are designed to stand out. Now, being true to yourself, like Anita was saying, because by the mere fact that she wears her own stuff, she's living her brand. She believes who she is, her flaws. It's what just makes her flawless, because she doesn't need anyone to validate her. She knows who she is. And I think that's what
Anita,
we need.
they're speaking very well now. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm starstruck, yeah. Yeah, so it's that. What is it that you do? And sometimes when you are moving in a gifting, it seems unfair, because it comes with so much ease that you don't have to put on a show to be who you are. You're just exuding who you are. You don't have to be a certain way. So it's just that you're who you are.
Talking about now living that brand and what we've explained, let me come to you, Dorothy. Do we have situations where you have women coming to get financial help and you feel like this brand is not really going to work out for us as a bank? Especially because you are saying I might lose money in this, and it could be just the person who's not exuding that level of confidence. Do we have situations like that, and how do we deal with that situation? How do we change that? Especially when we're coming to banks, because let me tell you, women asking for money is not easy.
I believe the way you present yourself is very important. What do we do as financial institutions who are here to help you? We try and understand who you are. We'll even go as far as visiting to understand who you are. At times, someone will come in with an idea and they've not put it out there well. So when I read it on paper, I'm going to say no. But if I go and understand who you are, then we can modify it and find a way to say yes. Most times, not common with women, we overachieve. She said that we need to manage our expectations. At times, we overachieve. When we understand you, we then try and modify and let you know that you can grow organically. So I don't know if I've answered the question.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if we have any people in the audience who would like to have ask our panelists a few questions here.
Thank you. My name is Bernadette Muhumuza, and I like the topic about entrepreneurship. What I've realized is I like building small businesses, and we go in and we set up systems for people. A lot of times, people will get money from banks. They will buy the merchandise, but they don't know how to move. They don't know how to create the systems. So what I would like to ask the lady working in finance in Equity Bank is, does the bank go further to help these women actually understand that you need a certain way to work for the thing to work. Even if you have the capital, you can go and spend it buying too much merchandise and it just doesn't work. Yet it's a good idea. But it's because they don't have the systems, they don't have anyone in the market teaching them how to build systems. And what is the bank doing about that? Because most times you see that these people are getting loans and they actually don't need the loans. They just need to structure their business as well. Is the bank going a further step doing that? Is there anyone in the market we can look at? Because I can't find this information and I get shocked.
I'll give you my business card. You need to come to Equity. But again, we have clients who we've asked to change management, because once we understand the business, we know even if we give you the funds, you're going to mess it up, or the people in the business are not doing things right. The bank does go further, but I must confess, it will really depend on, I think the people who are open to us and give us all this information are more of corporate clients or the retail clients. The small business people will give us basic information. What I would advise the people, or your clients, is to open up more to their relationship managers with the banks. They should be able to guide them with their network of people who can help them go further and, yes, improve their business, because this is our client. It's a relationship. We're both benefiting. So I would not risk my money with a business that is going to fail just to hit a target. Thank you.
All right, as she gets to the next question, apparently this topic has many questions. Dorothy, this one is for you. Apparently, how does one become an agent for the bank? You be a customer. Maybe if you're a customer, or better yet, be a customer. I think that's what they mean.
So we have a list of requirements, but I will ask for the lady to come
and talk to her on the side.
Yes.
There's even somebody who says, do you ensure security of the money at Iquiduka? These people move from one space and it's very insecure at times. I think that you can answer now or after.
I can answer after.
After. We have another question.
Thank you so much. My name is Mariam Tusime from Network of Women in Politics. My question goes to Dorothy. Madam Dorothy, in the banking sector, when you relate it to our cultures, you'll find that the biggest percentage of women really don't own property. And you have always asked for collateral as security to get loans. And where you don't ask for collateral, you find that you're giving very small money, which may not make actually the business run. How are you trying to build confidence such that women can actually access funds through trust and training? Because after they have been sensitized, I believe that women can do better than men whom you even trust more. Thank you.
I agree with you that the society is not on our side when it comes to collateral, but your banking, it's a banking relationship is a relationship, but allow me to say that because it is something you grow with your bank, right? So if you allow to grow with your bank, then you will get to a point where you can access large sums of money. We have a lady who started banking with Equity Bank Kenya, and she started with 50,000 KS. Right now, she borrows up to $1 million, but that is because she grew with her bank. Like I mentioned, I will speak for Equity Bank because they're my employer. We have other innovative products. We have a microloan where we use a chivanja. What I'd advise all ladies to do is we have somewhere we get money. We need to start by saving. And it is a harder situation for us, but it is what we have. We need to start by saving. Once you save and start that business, once you have that salary, you use the collateral that we have. So those are the innovative products that we have as Equity Bank to ensure that you grow. But once you move from a 30 million loan, you pay it off, then you're able to get to 100 million, and then the sky is the limit. So it is the situation that our society has given us, and I'll ask the people in the legal sector to help us with that. But as we're still working with that, we have to use what we have and use the innovative products that the banks can give you. We have group lending, since we do very well as women, and saving as groups and guaranteeing each other. I will ask the ladies to form investment clubs. Yes? We have investment clubs. You can use your investment club to then go and get these huge sums of money. So really, the forum that says we are women supporting each other, we need to actually do those things, even when it comes to financing. And we should be able to get more capital in much easier ways as we deal with the society issues.
Thank you so much. Madam Dorothy, this is to you.
Hey, Dorothy, you have suffered today.
My name is Navashimto Pista, founder Keep Me in School. My question is, I work for a small company, and we don't have so much collateral. But it so happened we got a deal from one of the government agencies, and we are supposed to execute some work, but then the money is on the LPO, but we don't have some of the objects and equipment that we need. I'm inquiring, does Equity in particular have a provision for us to use an LPO to get a loan, and after the money comes, it is paid over? Thank you.
Yes, we do.
And there you go. And our final question, before I give the panel a minute each to wind up with what they have to say when it comes to business and confidence, especially in women.
My name is Agnes Chiraga. I am a statistician by profession. I work with the Infectious Diseases Institute. I'm the head of statistics there. So my question is not necessarily in terms of business, but I wanted to find out from each of the panel members, how do you encourage confidence in women? Do you pull fellow women together when you are in fashion, in writing, in banking? How do you do that? What keeps you going? I've recently just started up a small group or forum called Women in Data Science, just to see how we can encourage young girls in mathematics and young girls feel empowered to take on sciences. So my question to you is, how do you do that in your spaces? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, and I think each of you is going to give your own opinion. How do you encourage women to, how do you build the confidence in women?
Yeah, maybe what I can say is one of the greatest lessons I ever learned from a movie was from a movie called Enter the Dragon by Bruce Lee. Yeah? He said that the weapon is the extension of the fighter. For me, what that said is, if you're fighting, if you're good at using a sword, then what you use the sword to do is what you would do as an individual, okay? So if ordinarily you're not a person who is offensive or who gets into fights like that, you wouldn't pick up a sword because it's not your weapon of choice. So what does that say? That you as an individual, what you are or who you are, the brand that you are, is what you carry into your business. It's what you carry into whatever space you get into. So I think in order to build confidence, build a business, the very first thing you can do is add value to yourself. Because if you don't see value in you, no one will see value in you. So it's getting yourself in environments that foster that. So find coaches, find mentors, create groups where you have people continuously challenge you to grow. And as you grow as an individual, even everything you touch begins to grow. John Maxwell says, communities get better when leaders get better. And that's a fact of life, because everything does indeed rise and fall on leadership. So if you can lead yourself, you can lead anything. So many people think they want to be the president of Uganda, but if you first make your bed, right? Then start thinking about turning the country right side up. So it's things that you do for you by you, and being the real person that you are, that is adding value, that is growing, and that automatically, translates to everything that you touch. All the people you see succeeding in business and whatever they touch, they say you have the Midas touch. It's because they have chosen to grow value as individuals and taken people along on that journey of significance. Yeah. So it's
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamara. And then, of course, Susan.
Okay. That just brings, we've all talked about confidence, and we've said confidence comes from knowing yourself. That reminds me of a quote from Aristotle that says knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. You can't pour out of a well that is empty. You have to harness who you really are and what it is you have to offer other people first, before you can actually begin to offer people something that you don't even have. And then I feel like reaching out as a way to impart confidence in other people. It's really you look good today. It's so many different things, and it doesn't have to be just the people who you sit down with and talk to. It's everybody you meet. There'll be people who ask you all kinds of different questions along your walk. Ladies, gentlemen, I know we're at a LadiesFirst conference today, but I think I have, in my business, I deal with 99.99999% who are male. I don't really handle women as clients, but I would say that it doesn't stop me from imparting confidence in them, because sometimes when they come to the brand where the business is and they wonder how it is I ended up here and why men's products, why men's suits. One time my dad recently said, I asked him, did you think my thing was going to be like this? He said, no, I thought you were doing a hobby, and I was just waiting for you to just tell me I'm going to get a job. I'm now tired of this. But the whole family ended up starting to do business because of me. At first, it was something everybody just talked about when I was growing up. These were things people would just say, oh, I want to do this, oh, I want to do that. And then there comes Susan. Out of 4 kids, I'm the third. And I am super, tunnel vision. I want what I want, and I have to fail something first for me to let it go. I can't just get up and let it go. And it's that confidence also in myself that I have to do this just because I feel this is what I'm meant to do. So if I don't have that, I'm not going to affect or impart that into anybody. So it's me harnessing that every day, regardless of what I go through, regardless of the challenges, that also gives confidence to people around me to want to do the same for themselves and the passions they have and their businesses. Even when they can't see from me, it's not easy, and it's very nerve-wracking 90% of the time. But from seeing someone go through the pits and come up and go down and come up, and they still are there, makes them want to do that for themselves, or gives them the confidence to be able to handle what they've also said they're going to take on in their life.
All right, Anita Barra.
Sorry. Oh yeah, so let's see. Before I actually answer her question, I feel like maybe when we say confidence, or we talk about confidence, we think that it's maybe just knowing exactly who you are and what you want, and you got this, but you just maybe have that fear. I think that sometimes you also don't know what you want, and sometimes you really don't even have anything inside. But also part of this confidence, I think, is also being able to understand that, yes, you do not have what you need. You also do not know how to do what you probably think you can do. and being bold and humble enough to want to know about it. How? Move to someone who you see is doing that or is better than you and actually learn. Know that you can't really do this on your own, and seeking that kind of advice that you need. And also, even when we have already gone through and we have already, let's say, started, established ourselves, and there are moments that you get stuck. And most of what will happen is that when you get stuck, and which really affects us, is that when we get stuck, we will probably, pull back. Prayer enough will not help. But again, you need to go out there and don't be too proud to actually want to learn something. Don't be too proud to actually move to someone and say, by the way, how do you do this? Because I was trying to do it and I have failed. Or, ask, try to learn, and accept when failure comes, because that is part of life. It's also having the confidence to get yourself up after you have failed and you notice that, what, this is not the end. This is supposed to help me learn from it. And also, finally, being able to take risks, because one of the things, when I hear her speak, I also know that one of the things that I have seen with a lot of the people that I have actually seen is you get to a place and, let's say it's me, I can make a dress, beautiful dress, and I will sell it and I'll get money. Maybe I'll get 200,000. And if I had more things to make, maybe 5 more dresses, I would make so much more money. But I'm like, no, I can't go to a bank. I fear a loan. I fear borrowing money. We are not enough on our own. And you have to, as long as we have the discipline, it's important to actually want to borrow a hand and not rely only on yourself. So as we are thinking about confidence, let's not, because if we put it that way, that, oh no, just be sure of who you are, go forward, yeah, but how about also how you're going to do what you're trying to do? So I think that we should understand that it's not just about the confidence that you have is from the inside, but it's also to do the things that don't look maybe that fancy. The one where you need to ask someone who does the exact same thing with you, and I have seen so many of them. Coming to your point, yes, I am a mentor as well. I have a mentorship program. And I really didn't plan on that, but I realized that the moment people or young kids or anybody got to know about me, my Instagram and Facebook, and it was too full. And for some time, you didn't have time to really go through them until I decided to devote my time to actually going through all of them and helping each one of them how I can. So I have done that with even so many other beautiful designers coming up, and they're really doing well, and I'm so proud. And yes, it's also one of the things that, yes, we do. We pick up yourself, but also once you've already made it, remember where you came from. Because I know that if at that point I got someone who came to me and talked to me and said, hey, this is what you can do and this is what you can do, I would have probably been, much better than I am today. So yeah, holding each other's hands is one of the best things in life. Not only does it make you feel so good and so, fulfilled within yourself, it also helps, like the joy of helping somebody else is even more than what you actually do for yourself. So yes, thank you for asking for that.
All right. Dorothy, I even feel guilty asking you because the way they've made you talk and you're still coming back on another panel. So I'll give you this chance to breathe in, breathe out. But you're still coming back with us because we're going to be getting into finances before we get into the love doctor business. I have to say a big thank you. Susan, Mr. Kamara, of course, Anita Berl, and Dorothy, thank you so much for partaking in this. And I hope this thing of knowing ourselves, I don't know how people know themselves. I don't know if you should sit in a quiet room and really judge yourself. But one thing I've known about knowing myself is being able to listen to somebody tell you about you. That is one of the easiest things. And somebody who's going to be blunt. I've been told so many times I'm temperamental. Yes, I had to calm down. Oh yeah, don't laugh. It's very temperamental. Small things used to really irritate me. I think sometimes I'm too out there. I need to pull back a bit. So some of the people I talk to find out about myself or my next step is this gentleman right here. So if you ever get a time, you need to get him as your mentor. He's going to use big words like braggadocious. I've given you a kalango there, but thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. I'd like to actually call upon, just for 1 minute, 1 minute to say something very important. I'd like to call the MD of Equity. You thought you were going to run away. Just to say something small, and that is Mr. Anthony Kituka. Just 1 minute. Don't shy away from the microphone.
This young lady is in charge of the bank in terms of finances. Now, I heard about confidence, I heard about passion, I had guidance from Victoria Sechueko, and I can see my cousin over there, Barbara Katende, who's going to talk about money cures, and our lovely patron, Maggie Chigozi. Barbara knows that this is important, and Kezia, why I brought her here today, is she is running a business, because people talk about, I had Anita say she's scared of loans, but she's running a business whose value today is upwards of 1.3 trillion shillings. That is the value of the bank today. And by the end of this year, 2019, it will be 2 trillion shillings. Now, she didn't like me to talk about her age, but this just she is not older than 29 and she's not younger than 24. So. But she is running a business that is worth 1.3 trillion shillings. Now, ladies, the reason why we trust her is because of certain things I've had in this room. But the most important one is integrity and confidence. So when you come to the bank, the one thing we're looking for is integrity. Because I am entrusting you with somebody else's money. It's not my money. It is somebody's savings, somebody's dreams. And the person who protects me is Kezia. If this young lady can do it, I have no doubt that people with experience, with knowledge, with guidance can achieve. I was laughing at all the questions she was getting because she had done research entirely differently. And I think she handled it pretty well. I am noisy, she's quiet. We are aggressive, she's calm. And that's probably something you need. I think last year, Maggie Chigozi mentioned it. Your husband can be crazy, running around a million ideas. Somebody must kind of vet them. And that is what we're looking for, the order. So the issue about collateral and security, it means nothing to me. It means nothing to Equity, it means nothing to Kezia. We want your integrity. So don't look for confidence. If you're sure you have integrity, the bank will give you money. We will find a way to structure it. That for me is the answer to that question. Collateral doesn't mean anything because you can have all the collateral in the world, but lack of integrity means nothing to us. So ladies, thank you so much. Didan, I know your signs and symbols.
Yes.
And all I can say in Kezia, since she's the one writing the checks, we'll be back here next year.
Oh,
thank you very much.
I'd like to call upon a very, very respectable author, young lady, who goes by the name of, she's actually named like my dad. My dad is called Charles Muira Katende. So I'd like to call upon Ms. Barbara Katende, the author of Money Cure, and we do have the book here.
I've been asked to talk about 5 money habits to grow your wealth. So I'm going to start by saying I'm an author, and I'm excited about this book. Those who haven't got it, please get it. Money Cure. 30,000. Don't go home without it. Money Cure. It cures your money. But 5 habits which are going to grow your wealth. So the first one is pay yourself first. It's simple, but what does that translate in? Once you get, money comes to you. Before you pay the water bill, the electricity bill, buy groceries, first pay yourself. When you pay your electricity bill, you're making Umeme rich, isn't it? It's money that's going out. You pay your water bill, you're making National Water rich. While it's good to make them richer, you are the one who's worked for money. So you should first of all make yourself rich. When you pay for your food, for your dress, for the shoe, you are making the shoe company, the grocery store, rich instead of yourself. So what do you need to start doing today? I'm not here to talk about complicated things. the subject of money is very, very simple. I'm a lecturer at Makerere University. I teach master's students and third-year undergraduate students, specifically in this topic, budgeting and financial management, administrative law and constitutional law. And I always tell people, you don't need a PhD, you don't need ACCA, you don't need an MBA to manage your finances. You don't. What you need is P5 math. Who passed P5? P5, you passed P5? Genuinely, without the teachers, adding up a few marks to send you to P6. If you genuinely passed your P5, until the day you leave this world, you never, ever have a problem managing your finances. So don't say, I need more education. You don't. What you need, which one do I use? Okay. So, what you need is P5 math. So you shouldn't say, let me go and get another degree. No. Because finances is adding subtraction. So where do we start? When I get my money, the first thing is I should take off money for myself. I should take off a little and save and invest. Now this sounds hard. It is not. URA, NSSF already found out how to do this. Let's say you are earning 1 million shillings. This young lady, what's your name again? She spoke so beautifully. The branding lady, yes. Michelle, First Lady. So Michelle, let's say Michelle earns 1 million shillings. URA found out that if they gave her 1 million shillings, and they said, give us back 30%, give us back 300,000, should have already used it. So what do? They get into a contract with her employer, and they say, before you pay Michelle's salary, first take off 300 for us, because we know the moment it gets to her, she has a laundry list of the things she needs to spend on. Then NSSF also came and said, you know what? First give us 5%, because we know she'll spend it. So ultimately, what gets to her is just 650. So when you're saving and you have problems saving, because I used to have problems saving, but the moment I figure this out, I don't have problems anymore. You go to the bank. Where is our banker lady? Kezia? What is a standing order? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Even to your own account. So if you have an account, you have an account in Equity Bank, a normal account, a current account, or a savings account, go to that same bank, because you can have as many, even more than 1,000 accounts in that same bank. Go to Equity Bank, open another account, preferably a fixed deposit account. And you know that you get your salary, let's say, on the 30th of the month. Give them, every bank, the moment you say the word standing order, every bank knows what it means. Put a standing order and say, from now on, when my salary of 1 million comes, can you take off 100,000? So before you go and reach it, as soon as the money comes, they automatically take off that 100,000 and they put it in an account. Like I said, get an account which you can't access easily, which you can access maybe after 3 months or 6 months, because that's going to give you time to think about what you're going to use the money for. So by that, the moment you give the standing order, you don't ever have to worry about saving. It's called forced saving. That way, just like URA takes off your money before you get it, you save even before someone else comes to that money. And with that forced saving, you never have a problem. So henceforth, the moment your money comes, you are the first person. You're the most important person in your life. That's why we've been talking about confidence and all these things. You should come first. If you have worked for that money, you've sweated for it, you've not stolen it, you have integrity, as Anthony talked about, then you deserve to earn from your money, which means you pay yourself first before you come to all these people. The second point is budgeting, which is also very simple. Like I said, finances is simple, P5. Budgeting, and here I want to talk about living below your means. I put that slide there to explain who I am. Some of you are meeting for the first time and you say, who is she? Why did they bring her here? That's my life. That's Barbara. The salary I earn, as you can see, it's in coins. But my friends say, Barbara must be earning. You see what my friends think I earn? Meanwhile, our relatives, especially those ones in the village, they imagine that, what you're getting is that. Now, where do we go wrong? is because we have relatives and friends who pump us up, and because they give us all these titles, and you act like you're earning more than you are, we start behaving like we're earning that bunch of money, when what you're actually getting is much less. So, and in the village, they do it so well. The burial doesn't even start until you've arrived. Then you arrive and you have to buy the coffin. And they have all these titles, Owechitibwa, Hajati, Chairman. And the more they beef you up, you also start swelling. Then you pay for this. They invite you for the function. You're the guest of honor. So you have to give the biggest gift, and money just keeps spilling out. You're earning 1 million, and now you're spending 2 million, you're spending 3 million, because people are building you up. And they've given you all these false titles. And they're giving them to you on purpose because they know the moment they say, Wanchinyabo, you keep paying. So a young lady, she really impressed me, so I'm going back to her. So Michelle could be here, and you hear and they tell you, oh, you have a child. You say, I have a child? When did I give birth? As women, we would know if you're pregnant. Oh, and I forgot to say I'm a Nalongo. Yes, it's not, how many Nalongos are here? You see, it's not easy to come by. And there's a technique to it, so you can see me after for tips. Yeah. So they could tell Michelle that, she's just got a child. She's got a child. And you wonder, when did I have this child? I would have known if I had this child. Then you'd say, you know what happened? In the village, your grandmother has a neighbor, the sister, her cousin, and the next door friend gave birth to a child. And they called her Michelle. And they saddle you with that child right from birth. Now, and you are the godmother. And so now Michelle is sick. They bring the medical bill. Now, you know what has happened? Michelle Jr. wants to visit her mom. Now she wants to come to Kampala. And you're getting this money. And you're living a lifestyle which honestly you can't afford. So we have to go back and say, this is what I'm earning. And I want to be clear. Like I told you, we teachers are very clear. You're earning 1 million shillings. Living below your income means you live on 500,000, period. No question. If you're earning 1 million and you're living on 1 million, you are a paycheck away from debt. When that job ends, you're in debt, which is very wrong. Earn 1 million, live on 500,000. And usually when I tell corporates like you that, they say, how can we? That's a lot of money. But if I came to your home and I asked what you're paying your maid, how much are you giving those maids? 60,000, 80,000, 100. But on that 100,000 you're giving your maid, she's looking after 3 children in the village. She's getting someone to dig for her. And those 3 children are going to find their way to university. So if she's able to do it, why can't you? The next thing is, stop accumulating debt. Does it move? Okay. Don't accumulate debt. Now, this is a big problem. I can't talk to ladies and not talk about debt. It is so bad. And debt is slavery. It's very easy. You get a job and you say, I've got this beautiful job. The first thing, 3 months into that job, you go for what? A salary loan. After all, the banks are giving it, and like the bankers have said, the conditions are relatively simple. You get a salary loan. Before you finish paying off that salary loan, you talk to your boss. You get a salary advance. While you still have that, you go quietly to the accountant and you get an IOU under the table. And you have debt upon debt. Now, the good thing bankers have done for us is now they have that card. If I get a loan from Equity, I can't cross over and go to DFCU to get a loan because they already know that, no, this one already has a loan, which they are probably not in a position to manage. So they can't give you 2 concurrent loans from a bank. So what we do, we start looking outside. And that's where many of us are in debt. So you have the salary loan, the salary advance, the IOU. Then you say, now what do? You start borrowing from your friends. And what happens to that friendship? When you see these young ladies, they're friends, then you say, how come they're no longer hanging around together? When you dig further, she borrowed and she didn't pay. You know how the friendships, disappear so fast? Now you are losing friends, you are still getting in further debt, you start now borrowing from your relatives. And what happens when you borrow from the relative? They are calling you and saying, okay, can you come? So-and-so's meeting, there's this lumbe, there's this function, and your phone is always busy. And I usually hear those people who are in debt, who have borrowed, and they say, But when you go and say, when you wanted the loan, you were on your knees. Now they are calling you to pay back all of a sudden. You're then, making those kind of comments. Then you do the worst thing no one in this room should ever do. You go to the loan shark. You know those money lenders? I don't know anyone who's gone to a money lender and they have their property back. These people are geared, to enslave you. You have worked 7 years for that house. And when you have that discussion with a money lender, they make you write an agreement. Bring, your title. Bring the chibanja, whatever agreement. Bring the copy of your car card. Because from day one, they know you won't pay back. It's taken you 7 years to get that house, you lose it. And when you look back to the reason you went to the money lender, it wasn't life or death. I'm telling you, I would understand if you needed a kidney transplant and you went to the money lender. But the things we are going for are not things that are going to kill us. Look back and say, did I really need that? Could I have survived without that? Yet if you began saving, you probably could have accessed the money that way. And then we do what ladies often do. You now start borrowing from the neighborhood grocery store. And it's very easy. You get visitors. Let's say I have a visitor, like Dr. Maggie comes to visit me. Of course, I want to impress her. I say, Gundi, duka kaduka, ask them, can they get a drink? Give me soda, give me sugar. It's very easy. Then you're not paying back. And now you have to take another route home, because for 3 months, she's driving her car, and she can't pay back this. And that is debt. So let's stop getting in debt. You have debt today. First of all, there are 2 points. The first one, 2019, no more debts. Secondly, start paying the debts you have. Even if it means paying 10,000 a month, do that. Don't take any more debts because you're getting in slavery. Actually, I'm a Christian, and the Bible tells us that debtor is a slave. But the borrower is a slave to the lender. So I'm not going to ask the slaves here to stand up, but you know yourself. And those who are about to get into slavery, just take a few steps back and avoid it. The next thing is diversify your sources of income. Don't have one source. And even this one, I'm going back to the Bible. Ecclesiastes 11:2. Each of you should have 7 streams of income. How many have 7 streams of income? Hands up. You have 7 streams of income? Okay. So don't ever wonder why you are broke, why you are in debt, and why you're not making ends meet. I didn't write the Bible, God wrote it. And he created you, and he gave you a manual to manage your life here. And actually it says 7 or 8 streams. Now many of us have one stream, that job. No wonder you're hanging on to it for dear life. Anytime they threaten to shake it, you compromise yourself. You have an affair with a boss, you start backbiting your workmates, you say bad things, so that you keep getting promoted, because that's your sole source of income. It shouldn't be. That job should be your first source to help you get other sources of income. Now, the people I have seen walking around who are so confident are people who have 2 sources of income. You have your job, you are corporate, and then you have your other business, a grocery store or a salon somewhere. And you still wonder, why aren't I making ends meet? Those are 2 streams. You're supposed to have how many? Yeah. So until you have 7, you will not make ends meet. So today you have the answer as to why finances and financial management has continued to elude you. And I will say for us as women, we are not independent until we are financially independent, period. Until you are financially independent, you're just swimming in the dark. 7 streams, your job. You're an accountant. That job gives you a source of income. But after you finish working, what are you doing on weekends? You can now become an accounts consultant. Just add the word consultant after. Now you can come to me and say, Barbara, I want to help audit your books. Let me go to the neighboring primary school. Do they really have a qualified person looking into their books? Let me volunteer my services there as a consultant. Now, from that one education stream, you've got another source of income. Are we together? Yep. Then, people's needs, basic needs. Remember what the teachers taught us in P2? What are the basic needs? I want hands, yes? Water and food. So food. I'm telling you the things that you can get in terms of business, which are going to make money for you. Basic needs, food, because everyone eats. Right from the president to the beggar on the street, everyone eats. Now, it's you who decides how to enter that market. When you have a lot of money, you can serve the kind of food Serena serves, and you ask 100,000 per plate. When your money is little, you can say, me, I'm going to shelter. Real estate. If you look at the figures in Uganda, my first job was in national housing. You look at